Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are we getting on? Welcome back to Drumlin Diner once again. So, we're going to work on a place to call home for our new character here. And this is very loosely inspired by the location of one of these RVs at Hub City Auto Wreckers. It's on an upper level there, fairly centrally placed. I wanted to do something a little bit different. I know I've used these before, but just try something a little different from what we've been doing lately. So I wanted this up in the air, give it a little bit of elevation, and mix and match, make the profile of this place a little different. It's fairly compact, but has all the essentials in place, so let's take a look. So, a bit of standard group select to get this up in the air. I did try a few different approaches, but it didn't work or didn't look right. I did try using shipping containers, that's the word, to place this on, but that just didn't look right either, and they're far too big, taking up far too much room. So we'll get that up in the air, make sure it's not hitting the wing of the diner there. We'll get some support underneath. So these took a bit of fiddling around to get into place, as once they were under the RV they just didn't want to snap. I think there's some sort of invisible collision going on under there, but a bit of group select, put the two together first and move them into place. That car at the back there is actually causing a few issues. It sticks out from under the wing, which means you can't get too close to it. In this case you can see the legs hitting it at the back there. However, I managed to nudge it forward a little bit and get the foundations in place there. It actually works out better in the long run, because the RV is still sufficiently supported there, but at the same time it gives a basis for this next bit, which is going to be a kind of balcony out front. So I thought about using the pier there, but A, where would it come from? We're quite away from the coast here. B, it's too big and too uniform for what I had in mind. So I'm going to use this shack bridge with no legs on it. And once again, group select it into place on the front. So I'm just going to line it up here, and then just nudge it back so it's not hitting the RV, and then pull it down as low as we can so it's basically looks like it's supported by the wooden frame of the foundations there. So there we go. It's the closest we can get. Pull it down a bit, and there we go. Stick a staircase in and have a look, make sure it's alright. Hop over, there we go. Solid as a rock, kind of. So, staircase. So, I had thoughts about building one from scratch for this, but it takes up a certain amount of room, and I do that an awful lot, so we'll go for something slightly more standard, but at the same time custom to this build. So we're going to use the small ladders. I had actually wanted to try a ramp and use the scaffolding pieces for it, but it's just too big, or not big enough, depending on how you want to look at it. Which ends up connecting in the wrong place. Rather inconveniently with this, the floor will snap to the top of the ladder, but it won't snap to the bottom. So a little bit of group select needed to get this into place, just using the stairs themselves as an anchor point there. Make sure that's not colliding with the boxes there. Unfortunately I can't delete without, as previously mentioned, more aggressive scrapping mods. But after that particular can of worms didn't go so well, I'm not going to do that again. Bang some railings on there. So this can be a player home, so I'm not too worried about pathing, as long as I can get up there. In that case it just means I don't end up running off the back of the staircase when I'm not paying attention. And it gives it a more complete look, of course. So, something to support that bit of floor. Nice and simple. When you stack these boxes one on top of each other, the bottom one acts basically the same way as using the rug glitch, which makes it very easy to place things in. Unfortunately, a bit of clipping through the ground there, but it's not too obvious, so it doesn't really matter. At least it won't be when we finish the build anyway. There's another good reason this is a solid place to build at, if you've got Workbench anywhere anyway. Trash can Carla's standing there on the corner. Brahman's rather noisy, for which I apologise. But coupled with her, I didn't shoot Wolfgang. I managed to come to a peaceful resolution on that one. So we've got him here, and Trudy, of course, as well. So there's plenty of traders here for you to sell stuff to. I may well put a caravan post in when I get one as well, but we haven't got that far south yet, so... So these awnings are added by Junk Wall Collections, you can see there, and it provides a few different textured ones, gives you a little bit of a roof to attach to things. Unfortunately in this case, because of the curved edge of the RV, I had a few issues with it. So here I'm going to put it into place, but it's a little too low. So when I come running up the stairs, you just about get round at the front of it, but unless you're right at the front edge, your head runs into the support on it, and then you can't get past, so... Just going to measure the height here. That lined up. We'll group select and pull it down, because these things sort of naturally sit at the height they're supposed to go at. Hence why it's floating. So I did attempt to adjust this once I'd realised it was a bit too low, but it leaves a sizable gap where the RV leans back at the top there. So it just really didn't look right, so I ended up changing this anyway, but I thought I'd leave it in and show you what I did, because it was there for a goodly long while and you'll be able to see it anyway. And it's a useful technique anyway. So we'll eyeball that, get the height right. Obviously you can place the pillar onto the shack foundation there, but given the position I want the awning in over the door, it doesn't quite stick far enough out on this particular build, so 2 pillars it is, and we'll just use the ground. Get that lined up. And there we have it. So yeah, just about get it far enough back like this, but not with enough headroom on it. One for use in the future, I think, that one. There we go, you go around the front, you're fine, but... we'll come back to that in a moment. So, as this is a player home, we're going to need somewhere to put the workbenches. And I'm going to build a kind of extension to the balcony there. So we've got somewhere to sit out front, and use the space underneath it as a kind of workshop. Which means it's going to be very compact, but just about enough space to get what we need in there. Or 2 of the workbenches at least. So we use these pallets. If you've got a nice flat piece of ground, they're relatively malleable. So you can just drop them next to each other like that. And then just group select into place afterwards. Because if you haven't got a nice bit of flat ground, then you can just do it in midair and eyeball it, but slightly harder that way. Fortunately, again, as with the shack bridge, because it sticks off from the supports a little bit, we can make it look like it's nailed onto the foundation there. So just nudge that into place. A little bit closer, I think. No? Oh, we're going around the other side. Okay, fair enough. It does stick out a bit more, but it adds a bit of a different shape to the build, rather than just having it totally square and blocky, which is something else I wanted to avoid with this one. So nudge that down into place. Once I've got the furniture in and stuff, it won't look like it's floating too much. Plus, of course, we're going to put some supports in a moment. But there we go. So one thing with building sort of up in the air, sometimes it works from the ground upwards, but often as not, if you're not exactly sure how tall you want things and you're not just snapping things together, starting from the roof and working down sometimes works a little better, which is sort of what I'm doing here. So we're going to put some junk fences around this, just to give it a little bit more of a sense of permanence. Fairly standard, same thing we did with the walls last week, bit of rug and pillar. So just lift that up a little bit. You'll see here, I've actually lifted the rug up a little bit too high there. So you're having a bit of difficulty getting the wall to sit on top of it. The concrete pillar's a little too close as well. There we go, with it a little bit lower, works just fine. Grab that, and we'll just wrap them around the legs of the foundations here. I'm specifically using these flat-topped ones I did by USO, just because because with the flat tops it lines up better with the upper levels and just makes it look a little bit neater and tidier. A little bit more intentional. Improvise is all well and good, but a little neatness and tidiness does have its place as well. Unfortunately, they're not quite wide enough, these ones, so it does leave a few gaps, but that's one area where the improvised look is something I'm reasonably happy with, so I don't mind too much. Bit difficult to line this up by eye when you've got the shadows there and everything, but he's nudging back a little bit there. There we go, that's a bit tidier. I was going to repeat the same thing on this side. Unfortunately, for some reason I can't grab the rug again afterwards. Possibly because it's out of sight, I don't know, but it's one thing that can be somewhat temperamental with this. So, I don't need to watch me put about 8 more in place, so I've used reverse ones around the side of the what will become the workshop, just to give it a little bit more of a supported look. Now we're just going to close up a couple other gaps. So, change the textures up a bit. We're going to use this retextured section of warehouse wall. These broken pieces are quite useful for this particular job. Unfortunately can't be rug glitched, but group select will do the job fine here anyway. So, there we go. Closed off, but not too permanently looking. The centre's kind of got away from me there, didn't it? It does the job. Sufficiently scrappily, but not too neatly either. So close this one off, and then we've got a nice little entrance on the left there. Try and line this up so it looks like it's providing some support as well. And there we go. Very compact, but we can get a couple of workbenches in there. Just about. So in the modular section here, we've got a whole load of industrial frames, some of them like those red ones, there are some sort of greyish blue ones as well. Unfortunately they're a little large for the most part for this particular build, so I've just opted for the one here. I want something that looks a bit different, added a splash of colour to it as well, so this is very, very brown right now. And dead simple, group select that into place. And there we go, something a little bit different. So I had initially put these metal railings up from the concrete tab, but you can see on this bit here I've used the junk walls that don't have a flat top, except that as far as the game's concerned they kind of do have a flat top. It's just level with the top of the supports that are sticking up there, kind of invisible, which is a little unfortunate. Collision doesn't follow the shape of the object, unfortunately. So made putting a decent railing on there a bit difficult. However, I kind of like using these tents. It's a kind of windbreak effect. As they normally sink slightly into the ground, it doesn't matter too much with them being on the top there because they don't look too much like they're floating. A little bit if you get them on the wrong angle, but on the whole it's quite good. So, with this particular tarp, I tried a few different options. And, a lot of them float as standard, or rather one of them floats as standard, and some of the larger ones are just too big and too awkward to work with. This one was a little temperamental, but it was the only one that fits. With a little bit of adjustment. There we go. I'm going to need a little support at the front, but provides a bit more colour and a bit of shelter on the top there. So, as our options at the moment for supports for this sort of thing are a bit limited, to use a little bit of imagination and pretend they're tied on. But we're going to use these radar poles. Use the non-spiked option so they look more like supports than actual radar items. Thing to note here is you can't move them while you're looking at the top, you have to be looking at the bottom of the pole. So it requires a little bit of guesswork and trial and error, but we'll get it into place. And we'll repeat the same thing on this corner here. But we don't need to watch me fiddling with it for ages. And there we go. Well, that's the main structure. So, fully decorated onto the tour. So obviously I've just put that fence in down there. Basically just position that piece on the right in and then just snap the rest to it. It's nice and easy. A little bit more decor. Decor? Yeah. In place now. I've got a tent at the back there that went in just fine. I'll put some boards down to provide support for the chemistry station there. Actually, that rug is the chemistry station. It's just there for decoration, the table. Well, that's a makeshift furniture pack item. I did try and use the invisible rug actually for that one, but for some reason it wasn't playing ball, so I had to use the ordinary one. It went into place just fine, but I couldn't actually activate it. Little cooking station outside there. There's not really room in the RV for one up there. Weapons workbench, armor workbench, and a little bit of storage down there. We'll take a look upstairs. This support's a little bit close to the stairs, unfortunately, but I didn't fancy trying to pull them all apart and move them again, and it doesn't really get in the way. Got a nice little sitting area out here, so chill out. Get your feet up after a hard day in the wasteland. Reasonable view, but not too exposed to anybody who gets close to the walls, which is also a good thing. There we go, all the essentials inside, a few places to store bits and pieces. Transferred most of the things I've picked up from and stored in Sanctuary down here now as well. Minuteman flag covers up the window. These blinds were a total afterthought, and they're a little bit on the clean side. Sadly couldn't get one on the back there, but it's kind of cool, it closes up the windows a bit, so quite happy about that. And there we go. Let's make our way back out and have a look again from the ground level. I do hope you enjoyed that. Fairly simple build, but I'm pretty pleased with how that turned out. So thank you very much for watching as always. If you did enjoy, I'm sure you know what to do. If you'd like to support the channel more directly as well, there's some options down in the description for you as well. I shall be speaking to you all very, very soon. Thank you very much.